Alright, my videos are getting too damn long, so we're going to go back to how things used to be. Short, concise, easily digestible, and talking too fast for some of you, but for most of you guys, you can understand me. If I talk too fast, there's a thing there in case you want to like slow down my speed so you can understand me. But for the meantime, for most of you guys, talking fast should be just fine. So today we'll be reviewing the Kono67. Let's talk about it. Alright, now this thing was sent out to me for review, but this won't affect my review in any way, shape, or form. Everything you're going to hear here is going to be my own personal opinion. So with that being said, let's get started. Alright, now here's the box, but we're trying to keep this quick, so let's open it up, and inside we're going to get the keyboard itself, so cable, a keycap and switch puller, a wireless USB dongle, and of course a manual. Alright, now the board itself is a 65% keyboard with a knob and is mostly made of plastic, with a few features that sets it apart from other 65%, namely the knob, as well as its connection modes of wired, Bluetooth wireless, as well as USB wireless for better latency. Back onto the build at the bottom, it is also very plasticky with these little scooped out sections, and on top you'll notice this little area which is going to be lit up for RGB LEDs. On the sides are also bits for RGB LEDs, but there's also these little divots here on the right side only. On the left side it doesn't have it, which I actually kind of like because I do enjoy asymmetry. But anyway, here's how that side bit looks lit up, but let's also look at the top and see how that's lit. And as you can see, you get all the RGB, in which you can also like change settings and have it like go through different patterns. And as you can see, the colors are very vibrant, and this has a lot to do with the switches using transparent housings. The model I have has kale brown switches. Alright, now if it isn't already obvious, this is actually a pretty good entry level like keyboard. It's a good gateway drug keyboard into the whole mechanical keyboard hobby. And what attracts most people isn't the fact that it's a 65% keyboard. There's a lot of those out there. It's the fact that it's a 65 with a knob. That and the fact that this boy can go wireless. Honestly, that would attract me too if I was starting out the whole keyboard hobby. Though I don't like the little printed stuff to know where things are here. I know a lot of people who buy boards like this or the similar versions, they'll do things to erase it or just kind of paint over the board, which is an option. This is a custom market, that's what we do. But customizability is a very important thing, and we are going to do this, you know, we're going to customize this board a bit too and see how like customizable this board actually is. But before that, let's see what it sounds like stock. Alright, sound test. Ooh, that's a little pingy. You know what? That's not bad. It's not great, but let's do something about it. Mind you, my methodology when it comes to like modding this board is we're going to mod it in ways that a normal person would mod it. So this is already a hot swap, which makes it easy for us. So if we need to change switches, in case we do, we can do that very easily without soldering. So this is a no solder process, which is, you know, what most of us are, are able to do. Most of us don't have soldering irons. So other mods we'll be doing is we're gonna lube the stabs. We're gonna clip them if we need to clip them. And for this case, because it's a plastic board, I prefer to tape mod these guys to get more of a clacky sound versus a thocky sound. Though, you know, if you want a more thocky sound, I guess you could put foam in it, or you can just not put anything into the board and just keep it as it is, because sometimes hollow plastic boards can give a bit of a thock depending on the build of them. So that being said, let's get some modding in here. Alright, now taking apart the board is pretty simple overall. You just gotta remove all the keycaps and then unscrew all the screws on top of the top plate. Then you just gotta push out those little plastic tabs around the perimeter of the keyboard, remove the volume knob, loosen up the housing a little bit, and you're basically good to go. Now, one grave warning I should make about taking apart the board or putting it back together is you have to be very careful with the mode connection switch. That is, it's very easy to break, and I did actually snap it, as it's just a very small pin-sized switch that goes inside the larger switch that you press on the outside. So, you know, do be careful now. Now, I should also note that because I broke the switch on here, this is it put back together now. I actually broke it only a little while ago, so I'll just tell you guys straight. I don't have any footage of me playing games with this in wired or wireless mode. I have tested it in wireless and wireless mode, and it does an okay job. In wired, you know, it's a keyboard. It's a mechanical keyboard with like pretty standard switches. It's not going to change your life. It's a mechanical keyboard, and it does its job. You can definitely use this for gaming and typing, but you know, there are of course like better options for gaming, which are like using faster switches, in which case you can technically put faster switches in this if you want to. Regarding the wireless experience, my neighbor's doing his little leaf blower outside. Anyway, regarding the wireless experience, I would not use the Bluetooth wireless connection to game with it. You're going to experience a lot of latency compared to like the wireless connection with the USB dongle, which surprisingly does a pretty good job. Didn't really notice too much of a difference when it came to like the wired and wireless modes if you're using the wireless USB dongle, but preferably I would use wired mode. Like, I'm not going to be going anywhere with this keyboard, so I just rather have the safety of it being wired, but I understand some of you guys like just, you know, aesthetics, in which case, you know, go ahead. But if you're going to be gaming competitively, wired is typically the way to go for like keyboards, so you know, there's that. Okay, let's get back to customizing the keyboard. Now, as you can see here, the switches are plate mounted, which is pretty standard on a budget board, and you know, everything's kind of holding it together to the PCB. Now, I should note, to even get to this part, you actually also have to unplug the battery, which is connected to the PCB on the bottom, very carefully. But anyway, let's slap like several layers of tape. I put around 6 layers of tape on the bottom of the PCB, being careful to leave a little gap for like the cable for the battery, as well as poking holes for the screws for later. Next off, I removed and lubed the stabilizers, which I didn't have to clip actually, because well, they were by design, you don't have to clip them. So that makes things pretty easy. But let's get like a preliminary sound test to see how these mods actually affected the sound. We should probably try different switches, because these are a little pingy. Alright, fine, we're gonna have to change out these switches, or at least lube the springs, but I'm too lazy to take apart every switch on here and lube the springs, so I want to put in like a set of like switches that I already have that are also tactile switches that I have already have, you know, pre-lubed. At least the springs are pre-lubed. They are my box royals, so let's take a listen to those. Okay. Okay, not bad. No ping. I wonder if it has to do anything with these switches here. Yeah, I guess a switch change or lubing springs is the thing to go. Alright, now yeah, that fixed the spring problem, so yeah. If you want to remove the spring ping, it's not about putting stuff into the board, it's about basically just lubing your switch, at least lubing your switch springs, because that's usually where the ping comes from. So, I mean, I guess like putting tape in the board, doing the tape mod did help like with the spring ping a bit in terms of like keeping it from reverberating in the board, but I think if we just lube the springs or put in switches with lube springs without even doing the tape mod, it would be fine, because, you know, if they're not pinging, they are not going to be pinging in the echo chamber. It's just making the sound that it makes in that chamber. So, you know, yeah, and even then, I don't know if I would recommend taking apart this board, just because I broke the switch here when I took apart the board. Modability is not the greatest in terms of like if you're gonna go deeper in the board, but if you're just gonna be changing out the switches and like lubing the stabs and changing out the stabs like that, then you know, you're fine. I mean, most people don't mod this far anyway, so I guess for beginners who are the main market for this board, this is gonna be a really good board. I don't think most of you are even gonna try to open this board. Most of you guys out there are just gonna buy this board, slap in some new switches, or like take out the switches and lube them, and lube the springs especially, lube the stabs, and call it a day. So considering the market this is tackling, which is the beginner market, I don't think most of you are going to be opening this board. But just in case you are, I already did, so you don't have to. And what I can tell you is, you know, maybe it's not the greatest idea, just because of that. So yeah, for most of you out there who won't be opening this board, I'm pretty sure, and just changing things out, this is pretty damn worth it. It's a good board. It's a good starter board. This is your gateway drug. This is how it begins. So yeah, that's my opinions on it. It's a great starter board. Not the greatest modability, but you know, for basic modability, for the things that matter to most people, pretty damn good. And if you do want to purchase it, I'll leave a link down in the description in case you want to purchase that thing. I do think it gives me a kickback. I'm not entirely sure, but you know, links down there in case you do want to purchase it. Now, this video did help you out. Do you like this? It helps, you know, like the video helps me survive in this YouTube place. And yeah, you want to see more content, subscribe. The button is somewhere down there, I think. Subscribe for more content. Notification bell if you want to know when I'm posting next. And that's basically all I have today. I am talking too much. I want to keep things short, like I've said before. So, see you guys next time.